Megyn Kelly.
Well, now to some critical questions on the most serious scandals and crises facing this administration in this country, unasked and unanswered, in a rare interview with one of the most controversial members of the Obama administration. The Attorney General of the United States, Eric Holder, talking to ABC News. He wound up suggesting that the criticism of the Obama administration is often based on racism, and we'll get to that in a minute. But first, the Attorney General was not asked about a number of much more urgent issues. Among them, the administration's strained relationship with the truth in so many instances, where the investigation stands into the IRS's targeting of conservatives. It's been in the news a little bit. Why the Attorney General hasn't appointed a special counsel. Why former IRS official Lois Lerner has not been charged. Why he did appoint an Obama donor to lead the investigation. For that matter, why Democrats have repeatedly mischaracterized the Supreme Court decision in the Hobby Lobby case, which Mr. Holder lost. Or the administration's terrible track record at the U.S. Supreme Court, having several unanimous decisions against it. 20 times they've been ruled against unanimously by this court. The Attorney General was not asked to make the administration's case for expanding executive authority and perhaps threatening our constitutional system, as Professor Jonathan Turley and others have alleged in congressional testimony, and we could go on. Joining me now, Judge Andrew Napolitano, who's our Fox News senior judicial analyst. I mean, really? There was not a question about the IRS?
The interview on ABC News about which you refer was so tepid. It was almost as if Eric Holder was running for office and this was his campaign manager questioning him. I mean, this is not a political crisis. This is a constitutional crisis, Megyn. The American people have a right to know there is a chief law enforcement officer of the land, and he is A, enforcing the law impartially, and B, telling the truth about what he's doing. It appears that the Attorney General is doing neither. For him to suggest seriously and repeatedly in that ABC News interview, we'll just take one subject matter because it's the hottest there is right now, that the immigration laws of the United States of America are being enforced is laughable, reprehensible, contrary to the truth, and an insult to the American people. The reason we have this crisis on the southwestern border of the United States is A, because the President of the United States decided to stop enforcing immigration laws. B, the President of the United States gave a signal to people south of the border, come here and we won't deport you. And C, because his chief law enforcement officer lacks the intestinal fortitude and moral courage to say, Mr. President, you're violating your oath. Your job is to enforce the law and not to tweak and find ways around it.
And you look at sort of where they did go. I mean, Eric Holder is a very important figure in America right now, and getting an interview with him would be huge. And I've said many times, that's my #1 interview I would like to do. #1 is Eric Holder, because there are so many important things to ask him about, so much of which was left on the table. And I ask you, Judge, whether our chief law enforcement officer chose the interviewer he did for that reason. A softball interview, with all due respect to that correspondent. He pressed him on a couple of issues. But these, I mean, the IRS, the dishonesty by the administration when it comes to Supreme Court rulings against Eric Holder's DOJ, that doesn't get mentioned?
I don't know if that interviewer is a lawyer or even a person with a special interest in or knowledge about the Attorney General's job.
He talked to him about how he feels about the Washington Redskins.
Correct. The interviewer did not probe the defects in the Department of Justice today. And again, Megyn, this is beyond politics. This is the American people going to bed at night without knowing that the important federal laws are being enforced, and with knowing that the person in charge of them is misleading them about what the Department of Justice is doing. There are FBI agents who are almost embarrassed to do their work for this Justice Department.
Let me ask you something, Judge. Let me ask you something, because you were a judge. You sat in an actual courtroom. You know, you were a litigator as well. Most lawyers are not afraid to face the tough questions.
Correct.
You go up there, it's a gift to be asked the tough questions, because that gives you the opportunity to actually explain why the questioner is wrong, and you can prove it to them.
It is also a gift and a special trust to be the Attorney General of the United States. Eric Holder is a smart person and a very good lawyer, but he is not taking his job seriously to enforce the federal laws. His ability to enforce federal law is independent of the wishes of the president, and it must be so. Otherwise, all federal law would be enforced politically. It's the reason the Attorney General is independent. He's not taking that job seriously.
Is supposed to be. Judge, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Well, as I mentioned, the Attorney General was invited to go